your chart. For the first time in Stockton, you now have access to a professional numerologist here to help you light your own way. I'm in the booth to help you find your own truth. Tune in to Divine Numerology every Friday at 3 p.m. on the Voice of Stockton.
Hello, this is Darius with Divine Numerology, and we are here today at KXVS, Voice of Stockton, and we are just talking about numbers. We're talking about numerology, what it is, what it's not, and how it can impact all of us in our lives, and how we can use it, this knowledge, to our advantage to help ourselves and help others that are close to us. Today we actually have a pretty awesome guest. We have a few guests with us today, and one of them is the one that you see sitting next to me to my left. Her name is Melly.
Hey.
And we met over in Santa Barbara at a festival that me and some friends went to over the spring called Lucidity. Lucidity, it's a huge awareness, consciousness raising experience in and of itself. It totally took me to a whole nother level of awareness and consciousness of different planes and realms of existence. And you know, I was able to share it with some pretty cool people. Jessica went, and some other good friends, Damien went, all of us, we all went to that, and it was just really great. And you know what, I want to, before I really jump into it and talk more about it, I just want to talk, just say, hey, Melly, thanks for being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here.
You want to tell them a little bit about yourself to the audience, and, so we know a little bit, like, who's that?
Yeah,
who's that?
yeah. Well, my name is Melly. My full name is Melissa Jimenez, and I'm from Costa Rica. Actually, I was born and raised there, and came out to the States as an adult, and I do a whole lot of things. I just finished college, but I like to delve into different realms of study, like recently numerology has been a big thing in my life. Anything regarding art, digital art, music production, activism. I have a pretty busy life.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. So now you know the mystery behind this smile, and we we actually met in this class called the Art Temple. Remember that? Remember who we learned from?
From Dave Zabosky.
Yeah, Dave Zabosky. Tell him about Dave Zabosky.
Yeah, Dave Zabosky is one of the most creative people I know. We all have that creativity within us, but Dave has, for a while, just mastered the concept of coming to terms with your creativity and making that the center of your life. So it was really amazing to have him as a mentor. He's pretty cool.
It was. And like one of the really cool things that I saw from, being around him, I just really got to absorb his energy. When we all built the art temple together, it was like straight up accident. I say in quotations that I even met them. Like I was just walking, doing my job, like, and just was like, hey, are you guys thirsty? And just gave them some coconut waters. And they're like, hey, man, come hang out with us. And then that led to me finding out about the class, which led to me finding out about this and then this and then this and this, and just led up. And it was crazy. Half the stuff wouldn't have happened. Look, you when you're out in this hot day, make sure you give somebody some coconut water. That's all I got to say.
That is awesome. That was awesome.
Because we built the art temple. They had, because you came for so Lucidity has this thing called the Lucid University, and that's what you came for, right, originally? Yeah. So the Lucid University, you know more about it because I wasn't really originally enrolled in it, but...
Well, Lucidity has been Lucidity is kind of like an intentional festival that's based off of these principles of permaculture, community, movement, and art making, and innovation. And so what they do is they have this portion of the festival called the University, which has less people than usually come to the festival come before the festival and learn about these principles. And then when the festival starts, these people are kind of like launched into the festival as ambassadors for these concepts. So that's what Lucid University is, and that's what I did this year. Where we both did.
Yeah. I didn't even, you know what? Check this out. I didn't even sign up for that. I didn't even know I was going to sign. No, I didn't even know. It just happened. It just happened. I was supposed to do it. I was just I just came as a volunteer, and then they were like, hey, man, you got to take this class. You got to, they extended that to me. And... so it just was crazy. I noticed you have a book right here.
Yeah, this book we got at our course week at the art temple.
Want to show the camera?
Yeah, I'll show.
Actually, this one too, right here.
Or this one.
Right here. Perfect. Perfect.
We got that at the art temple. Crafting my personal mitos.
And then what's this one?
This one is Master Numbers. This is a book that I'm reading right now. Here, what camera? This one.
Okay, there you go.
There you go. So this book is called Master Numbers. Checking it out right now, it kind of talks about these different cycles that we lead as we rise in consciousness. We go through all the numbers 1 through 9, and then we go through the master numbers, which are like mastering the other numbers. So it's pretty interesting. And
it's so crazy that you brought that book because I was going to mention this. I didn't even notice that you had this, but I was going to mention it, that Dave Zabosky, he actually is a life path 11. So he has that master number vibration as his life path. And then that's a master creativity, master aspirer, and that high level of energy, creative. And then here it is. This is our teacher. Like some of the things he did, that Dave Zabosky, he was one of the first animators who worked on 101 Dalmatians, Aladdin, way back in the day when the classic films like this,
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast. Dave Zabosky, when you watch that, he's doing that. Those are his drawings.
Yeah.
In the movie, that's crazy. Where here we are learning art from this guy. Really awesome. He reminded me of my 5th grade teacher. Straight up.
That's cool.
Totally got that vibe. And so you know what? You brought these books. All right, so tell us about, because obviously the show, we're Divine Numerology. Today, I mean, you're kind of like our numerologist. You didn't know that, but today you're like our numerologist. What can you share with us about what you've learned so far?
Well, as I started delving into numerology, truly realized that it was something that I really resonated with. I graduated a computer science major, so I'm a programmer, and I enjoy math a lot, and I enjoy kind of like picking up on patterns in nature and applying them to my material world. So when I started learning about numerology, I always knew that numbers were the foundation for everything. And numbers always kind of like felt as though they had a particular color to them, ever since I was a little kid, each number to me had a particular kind of gender vibration, you would say, or like a polarity, or like a certain something that I could feel in a certain color. And then I started delving more into it and realizing that it just helps me kind of like see the underlying structure to everything that I'm experiencing. And it allows me to be more intentional about the vibrations that I am picking up on, and like the ones, how I'm interpreting things and what I want to transmit.
Interesting.
So I've been just kind of like studying each number, each pattern. I've been contacting people and asking them if they want a numerology reading, so I can.
Wow, you've been doing readings.
Yeah, I've been doing readings. Yeah.
Oh shoot! So tell me about that. Like what? Okay.
It's pretty crazy, because I feel like there's so many variations to human behavior, and it's not about memorizing a particular set of characteristics. It's more about like a balance between knowing these structures and following your intuition and your guidance to like what it is that applies to this particular person's situation. I still have a lot of questions and a lot of things that I want to learn about, but I feel like so far doing readings for people has helped me just like realize how accurate this can be, and how like what the potential that it has to help people in their path, you know?
Okay. And so it's helped you to live more of an intentional lifestyle, doing things, more according to frequency, vibration, and then it's helping you to gain insight in yourself as well as those around you. Mm-hmm. What's some feedback that you get after you do readings with people?
They usually will say that it matches up. Sometimes I get people to tell me like, oh, this is something that I didn't know about myself, but so it's kind of like a shock right now, but now that I think about it, actually that's true. Like I feel like I get that reaction too. Like people are just like, oh, like, well, you're right. Like I hadn't even thought of that. Or sometimes they're just like, yeah, that's totally me, you know. I get that there is that they also tell me like, okay, now I know that this is something that I need to focus on. So they also make something out of it themselves. Like it's not just me saying something. It's like this person saying like, oh, well, maybe I can go into this like business setting, or maybe I can do this other thing. And it's, wow. I'm enjoying that, and I'm enjoying studying it on my own time for my own personal development.
That's awesome. Like that's like how I started. Like my mentor, he came and actually he just told me some super basic thing, and I was like, whoa, like crazy about it, and then just took it from there. What has been the what's been the thing that stood out to you the most? Like, if you want to ask a question, what would the question be? Or if it was a question that you've been asked about this. Just what, I'm curious about that, because I got something else coming, but I'm not going to say it yet, but go ahead.
Like, what's a question that I have about numerology?
Mm-hmm. If you do, or...
Well, one thing that was kind of striking to me was when I do my life path, when I calculate my life path, I get a life path 4. And when I found out about this, and I read descriptions online and I read up the things, but I wasn't happy with it because there was something that I couldn't quite figure out. I am a very, very creative person, and I am also an activist, so I don't really like to abide by the current systems or the current order, or I'm not very like law oriented. I'm more of a scattered kind of like out there character. So when I read about number 4 and the vibration of number 4 being about like process and practicality and these other things, I was like, whoa, that sounds nothing like me. Like my room is really messy all the time, you know? I guess I've had to come to terms with my own interpretation of that vibration. meaning I think I've had to like figure out where my creativity is coming from and where that meets that organization. And that's just something I'm working on, but it's kind of difficult sometimes to like when you read about it and it doesn't match what you think you are. Yeah, I guess that would be my question.
Okay. Would you like a little bit of answer on that one, or?
Well, I gave you part of like my answer. Also, I have other numbers in my chart that kind of explain the creative side and like all the other stuff. Like I have a soul urge 11, and I have a personality number 5. So those kind of push me in another direction, away from the 4, but at the same time, they're all like kind of like working together.
That's really cool that you just said that, because that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that there's just what you just exactly said. There's other numbers that would add and help and then push and things like that. What I wanted to touch on before we go to break is the fact that you had these dream revelations where you received some Egyptian hieroglyphs. That's pretty heavy. Now I know that hasn't been like in-depth studied yet. Yeah. But just like to tell, like, it's like, whoa, because like that's amazing. You know, like what's your take on that?
So I think the whole thing about Egypt started off with, now that I think about it, it started off with this dream that I had where I interacted with these cats, these cat creatures. And this was a long time ago. And recently, a lot of things have been pointing back to that dream and pointing back to a connection with ancient Egypt. So I've always been a doodler. I'm kind of hyperactive, so I'm always doodling when I'm doing stuff and like making little drawings, and my hands are always moving. And ever since I was little, I've always drawn these little symbols, and I never known what they are. But as I started realizing that there was a connection with what I was doing with like ancient Egypt, I've started to explore those realms a little more. But I'm still kind of like, it still feels like I'm just doodling, but somehow I know that that looks like something that I remember. So it's pretty cool. I think that just in general, like Egyptian scriptures and Egyptian like history can really talks a lot about numerology and talks a lot about like our own current reality. So I like exploring that.
That's awesome. So hey guys, that was our brief little interview, our little talk about numerology, and I want to thank you again, Melly, for being on with us, for coming all the way down from
Oakland
to share your wisdom and knowledge with us about numerology and where you're at in your journey. And is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out real quick to, or if there's not, great.
I don't know if I know of anyone specific, but I just want to give a shout out to everyone and and say like I hope you're all having a great day. Awesome.
So that is Darius with Divine Numerology with our special guest Melly, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned because we're gonna come right back with our next guests, who are like the modern day ghost hunters. They're gonna talk to us a little bit more about the technical side of paranormal investigation and the technology that's included in that. Stay tuned. We'll talk to you in a bit.